DJ and PK, it's 97.5 The Zone. We're joined once again by the former Aggie quarterback, Riley Jensen. Riley, good morning.
Good morning, fellas.
Riley, so much going on in football. Kyle Whittingham just announced Hunter Andrews is out for the year. And he has been not just catching the ball, but he's actually given the running game a bit of a boost. And Kyle talked about the next guy stepping up. It feels like to replace what he was giving him, they need a couple guys to step up. I don't know if anyone can run the way he did. And they called him a tight end, but then Kyle once said he was more of an H-back. How do they replace that that production? Because he'd given him a boost.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's going to have to be more by committee than it is just, one guy. Kyle has always been a big fan of the phrase next man up, and so these are opportunities for kids to step up and show what they can do. But there really is, a fall off. I don't care what team you're on, if it's offensive line, if it's defensive line, if it's running back. I don't care what position it is. When one of your starters goes down, there's always a dip. And sometimes there's a dip for the whole season. Sometimes there's a dip for a few games. But no question that this will be a little bit of a blow to the University of Utah.
Don't you know when you got a good football program, you lose one game and it seems like the sky has fallen?
Well, it does kind of feel like that because, look, there was a lot of hype for the U. Texas Tech was one of the teams that they needed to beat to open up, kind of a race to the championship for the University of Utah. It's interesting. Leading up to the game, I was buying into the hype. I was excited. I was really excited about the game being at the University of Utah. I wasn't worried about it being at 10 o'clock in the morning or anything like that. And I was really excited about it. And there was about 4 or 5 of my friends that I just thought were being Debbie Downers about the University of Utah. And they're hardcore University of Utah fans. And they're like, yeah, every time we have something like this at the University of Utah, and they went back through and they're like, when we were going to play TCU, we got boat raced. When we played Boise State, we got boat raced. And I was like, oh, geez, man, you guys are kind of like actually being Debbie Downers here, and you're actually bringing up some good points. And then it happened just like they said. So I think in some ways there's a little bit of tragic Utah fan that kind of saw this coming, even more than me, because I thought this University of Utah team on the offensive line, defensively, I thought they were going to play great, and they did really for a half. In that second half, it was just like things fell apart, and I can understand why, if you're a Utah fan, like it feels pretty colossal right now, because it wasn't like it was super close. Even when the game was close, to me, it felt like Texas Tech was kind of dominating the game, and I think that's because in the trenches, on the offensive and the defensive line, there was a lot of wins for Texas Tech.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah, because 1st and 10 was 2nd and 8, and then it was 3rd and 7, and they couldn't run the ball a lick. And that, I thought it was amazing the fans stayed in it as much as they did, and it's crazy. I mean, the score was close, so it was a 3-point game with 10 minutes to go in the fourth quarter. But there was just so much 2nd and 8, 3rd and 7 stuff, and that does not inspire confidence.
Well, and it was a head scratcher because, look, you got 2 guys that are, supposedly first-round draft picks on the offensive line. The offensive line had been playing really, really well up to this point. But when you started, like, trying to make yardage in that run game and make it a little bit easier on Devin Dampier, it was not easy sledding all day long. And I was watching that first half, and I'm just like, man, this isn't it right now. This isn't it. Now, I will say this. I do think Texas Tech is a really good team. So, there is a possibility of rebounding and have an opportunity to come back. But what I worry about is that last 10 minutes when it got a little bit out of control, right? Are you going to be a team that bows your back and keeps playing every play and does everything that you can to win the game? Or do you let it slip away and slip out of your hands like that? So, man, mentally, I hope this is a team that looks at that and says, hey, never again are we going to be a team that lets it get away from us that far. To me, if you're a conference championship team, you can't ever let a game turn into a 34-10 loss. You always got to be in the game if you're a conference champion.
What is fixable from the offensive perspective?
Well, you worry a little bit, and I don't mean to say I told you so, but I told you so. I'm not sure that Dampier is a natural quarterback, right? And I think there were some things that were exposed when he can't run around and be the best athlete on the field and turn it into a backyard football game. There are some things that are a little bit disconcerting. Now, I did see him attempt on some throws on Saturday to be that quarterback. And this has been my criticism of really, really good athletic quarterbacks for a long time. So let me just tell you why it doesn't always work. I was worried about Jaron Hall when he was in college because I was like, the next step for him is to be able to take a 3-step drop, put his back foot in the ground, and throw it on time and throw it for a strike. And he did that, and he became an NFL quarterback because of it, right?
Yeah.
Devin Dampier, to me, he's got to be that guy that can throw slants, that can throw a deep in, that can get some of those throws on a consistent basis. Now, he did try, and there was in the first half, there was a throw where he threw a deep in, where he was looking to the right, threw the ball on time, threw a deep in. What I'm hoping is that wasn't luck. I'm hoping that was really what his process was, because all of us get lucky sometimes as a quarterback. The great quarterbacks complete those consistently, and I think he's trying to do it. So I think those are going to be some things that are going to be important. But I think offensively, they got exposed on the offensive line when they were trying to run the ball and when they were trying to do some things. They weren't able to get the push that they need, and I think it's going to be good learning tape for Kyle Whittingham and for this offensive line for the University of Utah for the rest of the season. He will have their attention for the rest of the year.
You look at these rankings of all the teams across the country, and the Utes and Cougars have largely beaten teams ranked 70th or worse. And the one game is Texas Tech. Now, Texas Tech is 12 right now, right? And maybe they'll do what ASU did last year. They'll win the league and take Texas to overtime. And you can make the case that, ASU was team 8, 9, 10, somewhere in there. So if the Utes can't measure up to that, and let's acknowledge every week's a little different, right? Teams play their best game. Teams play, nothing close to their best game. So maybe there was a little bit of that going on. But are the Utes going to have the same problem when they play the 30th or 40th best team in the country? Because I think there's a lot of the Big 12 that's in that range. And if you can handle those teams, you can still build a pretty good record. If you can't handle those teams, you might be looking at 7-5.
No, I don't think this is a team that can't handle the 70th and 80th and 60th.
No, they've handled those. We know they can do that.
But I think they're going to be fine. I think this is a team that ran into a really good Texas team early, and I think this could be a scenario where the University of Utah is really, really looking forward to having a great season and maybe having another shot at Texas Tech at the end of the year. That's what I think you got to build on right now. I definitely think that this is still a team that can compete for a championship. That was a big sucker punch. That was a humility check, and I think a gut check for this team. But certainly, we've seen Kyle Whittingham teams do something like this early in the season and then still play very, very well.
Yeah, I agree with you. I expect them to be able to be contending into November, and we'll see how long that lasts and to what ends up happening there. But I haven't given up on this team by any stretch.
I think the BYU game becomes really big right now, right?
Yeah, absolutely. No question about it. And it always is big here locally. But for the Utah's development for this season and for BYU's perspective, too, I think that obviously that's important because they're both grappling for the same thing. And with Bachmeier playing as well as he did against East Carolina, it gives you a measure of hope that this thing can be something that he can succeed at this season. Certainly, I'm not worried about next year or the year after because I think that's a given. But right now, how pleased are you with his progression?
Well, I think it's about what I expected. He's kind of a game manager at this point. He can make some runs here and there, and they're relying on a really, really stout defense. I think the thing that's been nice for him, is that L.J. Martin is exactly what everybody thought he was, and that this offensive line against the stout running defense last week can actually open up some holes. And I think it was only like 13 rushes for LJ for 101 yards. I don't know I have the exact stats in front of me, but I thought the running game was super efficient. And if you can, it's kind of funny to me because I think that BYU is stealing a page out of the University of Utah's page where they're like, look, our defense is really good. Take care of the football. Don't make huge mistakes. Run the football, keep their offense off the field a little bit, and we're going to win these games. I did not expect BYU to score as many points as they did on Saturday, and I think a portion of that was Bear Bachmeier getting better, and a portion of that was just not making huge mistakes offensively. They're able to run the football, and this defense is really, really good for BYU. They are really good.
How much of it, though, is also when you have a chance to make a big play, you have to make it? Because the offense wasn't productive. It wasn't scoring points. The game was close. And the longer game stays close, the more the tension builds, right? And as much as it's about the X's and O's and all that, confidence, pressure, we know that can impact performance. BYU got the pick six. Now, we've seen players in the similar situation drop the ball. We've seen that all the time, right? You got to catch it, and you can't have a penalty on the other side of the field that wipes it out, right? They get to 13-3, they feel way different at halftime. The defense is just completely on fire, right? We are ahead 7-3. We've given up 3, we've scored 7, and even the offense has a little breathing room, and it looked way different in the second half. The Utes had a couple chances to hit on game-changing plays, and maybe they just lose 34-24. But it would have at least given some hope. It would have changed the emotion of the building. Maybe it would have given somebody some confidence. Instead, they were still under pressure. They were literally behind for 56 of the 60 minutes, however long it took Texas Tech to score that first touchdown. And so for all these teams, if you're Ohio State and you can just bludgeon people snap after snap, quarter after quarter, game after game, great. But for most teams, I think when they have a chance to make a big play, you got to make it. And I think for our two local teams, I think that's very clear. Without that pick six, maybe that game unfolds a little differently there.
I think you're 100% correct, and I got to give credit. I heard this from Tony Parks a long time ago. The most underrated play in football is a dropped interception. Because what ends up happening is you're like, oh, well, it's a pass breakup, and he didn't intercept it, but, we got off the field because it was third down. No, those are momentum changers. Those are huge plays. And I don't care who you are, when you're playing football and you're up 13-3 at halftime instead of, 6-3 or whatever it was, right? You feel better. Like, even if the defense scored, it's like, no, we're moving the ball, we're making plays, we're doing what we need to do to win, and it changes the mindset. And it's such a huge play when guys drop interceptions because, and sometimes they drop them because they are a pick six. They look at the end zone and they're like, dude, I'm in, and they drop it, right? And so sometimes those picks can be even harder. But I totally 100% agree with you that when the defense is playing this well, that sometimes it can give you some faux confidence that you're doing well offensively, and then all of a sudden, you play better. It's like when I played in junior college and I had Kevin Curtis as my wide receiver who ended up playing 10 years in the NFL. It's interesting because you end up throwing better to guys like Kevin Curtis who have this huge catching radius, so they're going to catch it wherever you throw it. And then because the pressure's off, all of a sudden you're just throwing dimes to him, right? It's like, oh my gosh, I throw perfect to Kevin every single time. But it's because he takes the pressure off by having a huge catching radius. This is what happens with a great defense is they take the pressure off because they're going to get stops and you're going to have opportunities to kind of pick and prod and figure out what's going on with the defense before you can actually move the ball. Now, you don't want to lean on that the whole year, but it gives you a chance, especially earlier in the year, to get better offensively. And we're seeing Bear Bachmeier just progress every single week. Now, the other point that I think you brought up that was really good is it is about making pressure throws. And I actually think that was what was so great about Jake Retzlaff last year is not that he had these unbelievable stats and that he was setting the world on fire. He made some timely throws last year. And I think that's what we need to keep looking for with Bear Bachmeier is timely throws, timely third down conversions, a timely touchdown in the third quarter or the fourth quarter that helps just kind of break the game. Because when your defense plays as well as BYU's defense plays, a 10-point lead feels like a 21-point lead to an offense. Because you're just like, man, I'm having a hard time moving the ball. These guys are coming from every different direction. I'm having trouble just even getting a completion. So 10 points feels colossal compared to 21 points, with a regular team.
What's your expectations for your guy, Jackson Dart, going to get his first NFL start?
Hey, is that exciting or what?
Yeah.
I'm really excited for him. I am cautiously optimistic because of the Zach Wilson story. I mean, you just worry. I worry that the problem isn't the quarterback. And I don't mean that. I don't mean that Jackson shouldn't be playing. I don't mean that in a way that you shouldn't be excited that Jackson's playing. But I worry that the New York Giants problem has nothing to do with the quarterback and has everything to do with everybody else on the team. I don't think Russ Wilson's played like lights out, but I don't think he's played bad, right? And so now there's pressure on the coach. There's pressure on the GM. They're 0-3, and they're like, we got to do something. If we don't do something, we're all out of here, right? And so I hope this is the right situation for Jackson to be able to come in and make some plays and maybe change the momentum. And I do think out of all the quarterbacks that have come out of the state of Utah, there's two guys, that have had like the attitude and the spirit to be NFL guys. I think another one grew into it, but I mean, and ironically, they both went to Roy High School, right? Jackson Dart and Jim McMahon, they're the alphas in the room, right? Like they're the guys in the room that everybody wants to be around, that everybody likes to be around. And I think Steve Young was that way too, in a different way. But man, I think that Jackson Dart and Jim McMahon have a lot of the same characteristics. Even Jackson Dart is like headbutting people like Jim McMahon used to. It's just, to me, it's a little bit of deja vu all over again with him. And I think that he has the arm strength. I think he has the chutzpah and the moxie that it takes to be an NFL quarterback. I just hope that it's the right situation because, man, that's a tough market. And man, if your teammates aren't making plays, it's hard to be. It's everybody loves to blame the quarterback and everybody loves to give the quarterback praise. And when you're losing, the finger gets pointed at you. And so I'm just hoping that he's able to open up some things for that team and really work into a fun position there.
There's a lot of angst because the Jets, the Giants, and the Chicago Bears all really seem to have a lot of problem getting the right quarterback. And I wonder how much of that comes down to so many people, such a loud media market, way too much hype, way too little patience, and so many guys now have, if they haven't flourished, they've at least become much better versions of themselves when they've left, right? Geno Smith, right. Sam Darnold, now it's Daniel Jones. That's three guys who failed pretty badly in a major media market who now are somewhere else, and they're at least playing decent to good football. You can argue how good, but much better than they were. How much of it is that it's just too many people and too much noise and too much hype and expectation and pressure on young QBs?
Well, I totally agree with you in the sense that it takes a special type of quarterback to be able to handle that media and market, right? Like it takes a
you got to be wired
type of,
exactly right. Yeah.
Yeah, and you really look. A lot of people say they don't care what other people think, but you really have to be that person to live in New York and play in New York. And it's tough, man. And mentally, it's not for the faint of heart to live in New York and play in New York. Everything that I know and everything that I've talked to with people that have coached Jackson tell me that he has that it factor. But we're not going to know until the barbs really start flying, until we really start seeing what it's like. And so, man, I'm wishing him the best. You know, as a kid from the state of Utah who had dreams of playing in the NFL, it's fun to see guys like Zach Wilson, and it's fun to see guys like Jackson Dart and these guys going on and playing in the NFL. And I wish them all well, because I think it makes us all feel like, oh man, he's from like our neighborhood, right? Like he's from right where we were, and I think it's a cool story.
I remember you coming on probably 8 to 10 years ago saying Utah quarterbacks are undervalued. They're pretty good, but nobody can get a look here. Do you think now perception's caught up with reality? Do you think perception zoomed past reality?
Yeah,
are quarterbacks getting a fair shake here? Where does it stand?
I think it's past reality. So I'll tell you a story. When I was in college, both at Snow College, Utah State, and even at BYU, there was quarterbacks from California, and I was like, dude, this guy is terrible compared to Dan Robinson, who played at American Fork High School, and this guy's terrible. And I in my head, I just kind of made a mental note, like, oh, I guess if you're from California, you can be a terrible quarterback and still get a Division I scholarship. Well, come full circle down to 2025, and I'm not going to point out any names of anybody, but there's 2 or 3 quarterbacks out of the state of Utah right now, and I'm cheering them on, and I hope they do really well, who I don't think they deserve some of the scholarships they got. And I love it because in my head I'm thinking, okay, now Utah kids are getting the scholarships that maybe some of these California kids were getting, where I'm like, they don't really deserve that scholarship, but hey man, go and take advantage of it. Go and take advantage of that education, that opportunity, and that. So I think it's swung back the other way. Like I think we have 3 or 4 guys playing college football that are out over their skis a little bit. It doesn't mean that they're not college football players. I just think that they're a little bit higher rated than what they're supposed to be. And I'm not talking about the highest ones. I'm just talking about, guys. And so I like it. I like it that Utah kids have an opportunity at the quarterback position. We're seeing guys in skill positions get offered from the state of Utah that we never used to see. It always used to be that you could get your milk and potatoes. You could get an offensive lineman. You could get a linebacker or a fullback out of state of Utah. But then when they wanted skill positions, they went other places. But now we're getting quarterbacks, running backs, and wide receivers getting recruited out of the state of Utah as well.
Riley, we appreciate it as always. Thanks for the football talk.
Love it, guys. Thanks for having me on.
Riley Jensen joining us right here on The Zone. DJ and PK, it's 97.5 The Zone. Coming up at the top of the hour, we're going to get the scouting report on the Colorado Buffaloes. The BYU Cougars have the conference opener, Saturday night. Brian Howell's going to join us at 9 o'clock. DJ and PK, it's 97.5 The Zone.
It's game week for the Utes, and the KSL Sports Zone is getting you ready for kickoff. The Utes head back east for their first Big 12 road game of the season as they get set for a showdown with West Virginia. Listen all week long for the best coverage of Utah football. Then catch college football Saturday game day at 10 a.m. with the postgame show immediately following the game on KSLSports.com.
Let's go then. Let's go, baby.
Your home for the best coverage of Utah football is live on air, online, and on the KSL Sports app. This is 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
It's a Win Tickets Wednesday. It is time to win right now. Caller 12-801-575-ZONE wins a pair of tickets to see Breaking Benjamin and 3 Days Grace with special guests Return to Dust Saturday, September 27th. That is this Saturday at the Utah First Credit Union Amphitheater. You want to go to the concert Saturday? Call right now, 801-575-ZONE. Well, PK, that doesn't happen every day.
What's that, David James Nickledorf III?
Ute fans throwing a little bit of a, I don't know if it's a life preserver, a hope preserver by an Aggie. Shocking.
I've been thinking
Riley's
about
not
this.
Riley's not completely over Utes to the Big 12 title game.
Yeah.
I know some people, and I get it. You drop the opener. It didn't look good. The strength of the team, what was supposed to be the strength of the offense, is a weakness, and one more loss could knock you out. I mean, I think 8-1 gets you in. I don't think there'll be 3 8-1 teams that can come anywhere near that a year ago. So 8-1 would get you in, but that seems like a big ask right now. And 7-2, I mean, I get it. I get why people would be like, well, hopefully they'll have a nice year, but whatever.
I think there's a couple of things that I want to say is that how good is your football program that the sky has fallen and the earth has ended because you lost one football
loss.
game.
I know.
Yeah, so that means you're in a good spot, not just literally right now, but I'm talking about overall that and I've had multiple people ask me, hardcore Ute fans, what do you think now? Because they're concerned. And that's a good thing. A, you care enough. You certainly haven't deserted the program. And then B, you're thinking, oh, my gosh, man, we were supposed to be all this, blah, blah, blah. Well, that's high expectations, right? And they fell short of that in the one game on September 20th. That's understood. That'll always be a fact. Now, going forward, what does it mean? It could mean that, hey, you're not as good as we thought. The fears that we had about the offense and Riley talking about that Devin Dampier is not a natural quarterback, and he really isn't in the sense that of the quarterback that you want. That's not who he is, right? But can he be good enough to beat you and get you into contention? I think they can be in contention, and that may not get them in the game, right? We're talking about the final game of the Big 12 season is that first weekend in December, right? You may not be there, but can you be in contention? When you're November 15th, are you in contention? Right now, I'm inclined to say yes, I think Utah is, but I think certainly some things have to happen. Obviously, you've got to beat West Virginia, and it would help the psyche if you went back and plastered them in the manner that Kansas did. I mean, it would, obviously. I don't think it would bring it all the way back because then you would start to see people made too much of a big deal. Probably me included, too. I put myself in there on that first opening win. It's like, oh, my gosh, man, this looks so simple and so easy. Well, we found out that team over there might be literally the worst they've had ever in their program history. It remains to be seen. It's kind of funny. You spin it. Remember when we had Wayne Cook on? Well, man, if UC Los Angeles could beat Utah, the schedule really plays well.
They could be on 5 wins.
They're 4-0. They could be undefeated going in October. Well, turns out they might be defeated going into October. They may lose every game.
We were all aware that Utah wasn't probably beating an 8 or 9 win UCLA team,
right,
but we thought they were beating a 4 or 5 win UCLA team.
I did, yeah.
I know. Well, they were 5-7 last year. That wasn't a stretch. And instead, they either beat an 0-12 UCLA team or a 1-11 UCLA team.
Yeah,
it's like really hard to imagine two wins now.
But you've got to beat West Virginia, and it would help if you can really put it on them and at least be comfortable by 10 points.
Not squeak it out.
Yeah, if it's anything above 15, 17 points, 17 obviously is more of a football number than a 15 would be, that would help the psyche of the team. And then I think that if you can find a way to split the next 2 games, right? So whether it's BYU or ASU.
That's the bare minimum, isn't it? I mean, if you lose them both, you're done.
Right. Oh, yeah, right. Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. Yeah. You've got to find a way. If you come out of that, that's the halfway point of the season, not the conference season, but the season. And if you're looking at, you're
past halfway at that point. That'd be Game 7.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. And so you've got.
But if you're 5-2.
Yeah.
5-2 and 2-2.
Yeah. I think the rest of the games are extremely winnable.
You're at least saying you got a chance. We got to run the table.
And you look good enough in those losses. You didn't look good in the Texas Tech loss. That's why I say you have to evaluate losses because there's a winner and loser in every game. And just because you lost the game didn't mean you didn't look good. Well, they didn't look good against Texas Tech. Nobody can spin that. They just didn't. But you could lose to either the Devils or BYU and still look pretty good, at least from the offensive perspective. The other team just might be a little bit better or turnover, whatever. The number of kid misses a field goal, who knows what can happen. But you can take some positives. There's very few positives. As Kyle said, man, the punter, he went right to the punter. The punter looked good. I mean, okay, well, that's normally not what you're looking for at the top of your list of positives to take from a game, right? We understand that. But find a way there because – and we'll know more about all these teams at that point because we will be in the back half of the season. But I don't think I can look at any game the rest of the way and say, oh, man, you got to really be on top of your game to win those games. Maybe I'm wrong, but that's the way I see it. And I think that Whittingham, every time, not just sometime, but every time he's been counted out, somehow they rally. So there is that pass that gives me a level of comfort here that this season is far, just absolutely far from being lost.
Yes, I think that the emotions of the past couple years, or as Riley pointed out, really over 20 years, those are getting mixed in with this year's storyline and the talent of this team. And college football has changed so fast, that's just not a good idea. You know, I mean, the whole thing about every time the big noon or game day shows up, well, it's not every time. They've won when they've come to town. Yes, there have been some high-profile losses.
They beat Cal at one time.
Exactly. That's a good example. And whether game day comes or not, it's still a big game, right? They had big games. Whether game day shows up or not, whether – Georgia's playing Alabama that week on the other side of the country. Like USC came to town, it was a big deal. Oregon came to town, it was a big deal. They've won big showdowns with ranked teams.
Well, if you're worried about game day, the good news is that won't sniff the University of Utah campus the rest of the season. So if that wasn't a problem,
if that's all it is,
that.
11-0 when there's no big nooner game day, 0-1 when there is big nooner game day.
Yeah. I mean, if that's the case, obviously I don't see them going there unless they went to BYU for that game. But I don't really care about any of that stuff. It's fun if it happens, but you can still have fun without it.
It's just that they lost the game, B, they lost it decisively, and C, the stuff you were counting on to be a strength wasn't anything close to a strength. Right?
Yeah.
The running game's always good. The O-line's going to be great. They got two backs who can carry the ball, and they've got a tight end, H-back, whatever it is, and they got a quarterback. Well, they lost one of the four to injury. The other three couldn't run the ball, and we don't really blame it all on them because we saw what happened at the line of scrimmage.
All right. So buck up, boys.
I get why people are down right now, but at the same time, PK, if you rank everybody in the league – 1 through 16, or if you rank everybody on the youth schedule 1 through 12, on paper, they lost the best team, so they can win any of these other games.
I think they can. Yes. I don't think they will, but
I know that's the thing. You're like, yeah, I give you a 60-70% chance of winning whatever big game is out there on the schedule, right? ASU and BYU are clearly the next two we're looking at. But it's not about winning any one game. It's about putting together a streak now.
Right. That's what I'm saying. Go ahead and play your butts off against West Virginia, and whatever's lost is not lost permanently, and what has been lost can be reestablished. I don't think it can be simply reestablished by beating West Virginia. It's going to be a 2 or 3 step process. If you go 3-0 in your next 3 games, you've reestablished everything, literally everything that you've lost, provided your guys, your quarterback and all that are healthy. Then you go into that back half of the schedule, and so you just chalk it up to, we sucked that Saturday, things happen, sucked at the moment, but that was last month. You have to allow everyone an opportunity to improve. It's like we used to say just here in the offseason, well, Retzlaff really won't be missed because his statistics were blah, blah, blah. Well, yeah, that was last year's statistics. He would have gotten better this year under A-Rod and Fessy and those guys. Yes. So I don't care what his statistics were last year. I'm going to allow for the kid to improve, which I believe he would. Same concept here with Utah's football program. Now, they got to get it done. And obviously, I'm looking at it hoping to an extent that they get it done. the BYU thing, I try to be as neutral as possible here, but I want them to do well because I want the excitement and all that stuff. Same thing for BYU, and so I'm looking at them favorably, but I think it can be done recognizing that I've got a bias here.
We wanted 6-0 versus 6-0. Now we will have to accept 6-0 versus 5-1. Although there's no guarantee we'll get either one of those things.
No, but I think if I'm Utah, even before the season, if you said 5-1 and how many games would they be at? They'd be 2-1 in league. Mm-hmm. That's fine.
But an Iowa State win would have, or excuse me, a Texas Tech win.
Sure would have, but it's still fine. You're in a good spot to compete and achieve, especially now with an automatic bid. You don't even have to worry about style points and all that stuff if you get the automatic bid.
DJ and PK, it's 97.5 The Zone.
It's game week for the Aggies, and the KSL Sports Zone is getting you ready for kickoff. Bronco Mendenhall and the Aggies are back in SEC country as they battle Vanderbilt in Nashville. Listen all week long for the best coverage of Aggie football. Then catch all the play-by-play action beginning with the Aggie pregame show this Saturday morning at 9:30 on 1280 The Zone. Your exclusive home for Aggie football is live on air, online, and on the KSL Sports app. This is 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
The Mr. Mack Utah County High School Player of the Week this week is Lone Peak High School quarterback Cruz Christensen. Christensen passed for 223 yards and 4 touchdowns while running for another touchdown as the Knights beat Corner Canyon High School 42-21. Don't miss the KSL Sports Game Night Live Game of the Week this week as the Timpview Thunderbirds face the Orem Tigers. Catch the action Friday night on KSLSports.com, the KSL Sports app, or here on the KSL Sports Zone. The Utah County Player of the Week Award is proudly presented by Mr. Mack. No one buys, no one sells, no one cares the way they do. Absolutely no one. I'm telling you, no one.
Amidst all this football, basketball's about to get going, and the Jazz making a roster move. Reaction to it, fairly muted. The Jazz waving KJ Martin. Good move. Question mark. And the reaction, Leroy, he's a solid backup for a good team, and the Jazz aren't that. The Jazz are starting to look a lot like the Kings of the mid-'90s.
The mid-'90s.
Kings of the mid-'90s weren't good. Yeah, they weren't good.
So that was after the group or before?
They got good. No, that was before. They got good late 90s.
Okay. Yes.
All right,
gotcha.
The mid-'90s, they weren't there yet.
Okay, but how did they get
2000s,
good?
Early 2000s.
I'm fine with that. How did they get good? Go back. You love to go back, and that was one of the places you worked, so you probably should know, and plus your memory on that stuff is really good anyway. How did they get good?
Traded for Vlade, Peja and Weber were a huge part of that. Bibby.
Technically they traded for Weber too, didn't they?
On a draft, I think that was a draft day
draft
deal.
Night deal.
He got moved.
Right. But they're essentially draft picks.
Yes.
Doug Christie.
Was it? Well, that was earlier because that was Weber was in the Sean Bradley draft class. I mean, he started with the Warriors and went to Washington before he went to Sacramento. So you've got a mix of acquiring veterans. Yeah, Weber was 25 when he went to Sacramento. And ironically, that was when they got good. So develop some young role players and then go out and acquire a couple vets.
Now, they weren't quite good enough, obviously. They had good players. I don't think they had a bona fide true superstar.
They were the second best team in the NBA. And there are plenty of people who think that.
Really?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I think the year that I'd have to go back in the year they lost in the conference final to the Lakers, I think the Lakers were 1 and they were 2, and whoever was in the NBA Finals I don't think was as good. And I'd have to go back and figure out. who that was, but it might have been Philadelphia when the Lakers absolutely rolled Iverson and the Sixers in like 5.
Yeah, I don't know that I'd put him that good, but nevertheless.
Robert Horry hit. Remember Robert Horry hit a shot?
How
it was
do I
ridiculous.
not remember
it was
Robert Horry? Get out of town, man.
Ball gets swatted out, and one NBA person said to me, he shouldn't have even been there. He should have been at the glaze, 6'10". He should have been up there trying to get the rebound. What's he doing standing on the three-point line watching?
Whoever told you that is 100%
Well, it turns
wrong.
out he was hitting the game-winning shot.
Robert Horry was not in the NBA for his rebounding prowess. He was in there
his rebounding.
Big shot.
He was there for his shooting.
So whoever told you that was wrong.
I think that moving KJ Martin is just a case of he's 24 and they think they know what he is, and they want to see what they have with these guys, who they're going to have to start deciding who gets extensions and who doesn't, and if they get extensions, what kind of extensions. So I think this just means they're going to be playing Keontae George and Collier, and they're going to be playing their draft picks up and down the line. I mean, Ace Bailey, obviously, you were talking about that earlier in the show. You're ready to see him go 35 every night. Let's go. What do you got?
I like the nightlife, baby.
And KJ Martin and his agent are sitting over there like, how do I get to play exactly? No matter how well I play, I can outplay that guy, but you're going to play that guy anyway. Yeah, not a great situation.
So they're happy today?
To be sitting and watching. I wonder about that. I wouldn't be surprised. We'll see where he lands. I mean, I assume you wouldn't have these kind of conversations if you didn't have a couple of landing spots in mind. That would seem to be malpractice on part of the agent. Before you go down this road, you got to
hopefully he has malpractice
insurance. He's got to get into
then.
A camp somewhere. And yeah, right? He's got to be getting into a camp somewhere ASAP. It's go time.
Or I don't know about that. Maybe as soon as possible.
Thank you. All right. DJ PK, when we come back, we will get a scatter report on BYU's opponent this week, the Colorado Buffalo. They have split a couple of games here early. How good are they? Strengths and weaknesses. Coming up next, we will talk with a guy who watches them on a regular basis. And join us next, Brian Howell, Colorado Buffalo's beat writer for Buff Zone and the Boulder Daily Camera. Stay with us.